In this video, what we want to do is create an unlockable item. And to do this, what we're going to do is have a wall that our agent can't go through unless he collects a key. So we're actually looking at creating some collectibles and some unlockables here, which of course you can apply to many different features in games that you work on. But let's get started and create a very simple unlockable wall that our agent has to collect a key to get through. So the first things first, we want to add those pieces of artwork into our game. So if we go again back over to our Media tab, you'll notice that we have a piece of artwork here called Wall. So I'm just going to simply drag and drop that wall into my all tag. And we also have a piece of artwork called Key, which I will then drag and drop here as well. So let's open up that all tag, and let's just rename these. Looks like I already had that key actor in there for some reason. So let's rename these. This first actor, I'm just going to call that wall. And this second actor, I'm just going to call it simply key. So now I can go ahead and drag my wall into my scene here. So I'll just drag it somewhere over here. This is where I'm going to place the wall anyways to prevent my hero from gaining access to this area of the level. But just so we can test things out and I don't have to travel throughout the whole level, I'll just go ahead and put my hero next to the wall. So as I always do, when I add in artwork, I like to test things right away. So let's go ahead and press that play button. You don't want to get too far along before you test things. And you can see right away we have a problem. We added in the wall right here, but if my hero travels around this area, we can see that there is no wall. So what happened to the wall? Well, if you've been paying attention to earlier videos, I told you how important it was to pay attention to the different layers that we've created. And if you add something to the wrong layer, for instance, the HUD layer that we created, you can lose these items. So I wanted to do that on purpose, just so that you don't freak out in case you start adding in artwork into your scene and it just disappears the way my wall did here. So this is a great opportunity to go ahead and inspect that as well. So you can see if we go back to our layers here, we have our HUD layer and our background layer. And if we open this up, you can see that the wall is sitting in this area. So if you add things in now, make sure that they're added into this background layer and not the HUD layer. So I'm just going to keep that selected, and hopefully everything that we add from now on will end up in this background layer. But if you lose things, just go ahead and check and make sure they're not sitting in the HUD. They can be very easy to forget, which is why I keep pointing it out. So now that we have our wall in place, let's go ahead and preview this yet again. And now you can see that because the wall was removed from that HUD layer and is now in the background layer, we're seeing it perfectly fine. Well, we want our agent to be able to collide with this wall, so that's as simple as just dragging the wall into the collide tag. So you can see that we have this collide tag down here. So I'll just click and drag and drop the wall into that collide tag. And it doesn't actually remove the actor from this all tag, it just adds it to the collide tag. So now that that's added to our collide tag, let's see what happens. Our hero should be able to come in contact with the wall. Right now we only have the ground blocks and the wall added to the collide tag. So let's bump into it. So you can see our hero does bump into the wall, but then our wall goes shooting off into space. So to fix that is really simple. We're just going to simply click on the wall actor here. And we're going to click on the actor tab that we see here so that we can get to the wall's physics. So if we scroll down here, you can see at the very bottom we have this physics tab that we can open up. And what we want to do is we want to turn off movable. So we don't want the wall to be able to move. We want to turn on fixed rotation. And then while we're here, let's just go ahead and turn bounciness down to 0, because we don't want our main actor bouncing off that wall. So again, let's preview this. And now our actor does come in contact with that wall, which is exactly what we want. But we do want some way for our actor to get through this wall, and that's where the key comes into play. So we're just going to take the key, and again, I'm just adding things close by our main actor so that we don't have to travel the entire stage to test things. And you want to do this often as well. If you build a very complex stage and then you start creating things at the end of the stage that you want to test out, you essentially have to play your entire game just to get to that final stage. So try not to waste time when you're developing things. In the end, when everything's working perfectly, we can set up the stage the way that we want. So I'll just drag and drop the key here as well. The very first thing that we want to do with the key is we want to give the illusion that our main actor here has collected the key. And that's actually really simple to do with a simple destroy command. So I'm going to click on the key here inside our actor tab. If you don't have your backstage open, go ahead and open the backstage now. So we're working on the key actor. And we're just going to create a very simple rule. So I'll click the plus rule icon here. And in this first box, I'm going to type in the word collision. Select that. So when we have a collision with the agent, remember we're working on the key right now, what do we want to happen? So in the do section, I want to type in the word destroy and select that. So all I've basically said here is when you come in contact with the agent, then go ahead and destroy yourself. So let's go ahead and preview that and make sure it works. So our agent comes in contact with the key, and you can see the key, of course, disappears. But that doesn't do us much good because even though the key has disappeared, we still can get through our wall. So what we need to do is create an attribute that when you collect the key, that attribute changes from no to yes. And then this wall can pay attention to that attribute, and whenever that attribute is switched over to yes, the wall can then be destroyed by our main character. So what we want to do is click on this home icon that we see down here in the attributes. We want to create a brand new attribute. We have a few attributes that we created earlier, like score and alive. Again, we want to click on the plus icon, and we're going to use a text-based attribute. And we'll just call this key collect. And by default, we want to type in the word no, because our hero has not collected the key by default. Okay, so now we want to create some very simple programming inside our main character. So we'll click on our agent, close down all these groups that we created earlier. And we want a very simple rule that says when you collide with the key, then we want to change this collect key from no to yes. So click the create rule icon. And again, we're going to type in the word collision and select that. And when our main actor collides with the key, then what do we want to happen? Well, we want to change an attribute. An attribute we want to change is the one we just created. So we'll start typing the word change attribute and select that from the list. And let's go ahead and find this attribute that we see here that we just created by clicking on this down arrow. And that's going to be located in Attributes, Game. And if we scroll down, you can see Collect Keys there, so we'll double click on that. And when our agent comes in contact with the key, what do we want to change the collect key attribute from? So we want to change it from no to the word yes. So I'm just going to type in the word yes here. So very, very simple stuff. And then if I want, I can rename this. So that's what happens when we collect the key. So if I preview this now, our agent does collect the key, and when that happens, it does change that attribute from yes or from no to yes, but we still can't get through the wall. And that's because we now need the wall to pay attention to that attribute. So let's back up and select the wall. Again, we want to make sure our backstage is open. And now that we're inside the wall actor, let's set up a very simple rule. So we'll click New Rule. And the rule says this: when you collide, so type in the word collision, with the agent, so again we're inside the wall, and when the wall comes in contact with the agent, then what do we want to happen? Well, we want you to destroy yourself. So in the do section, I'm going to type in the word destroy. Now, this is fine, but this isn't paying attention to that attribute. So this is where we set up one condition. So in this box here, the condition we want to set up is, we'll type the word attribute, and we want to select that attribute just as we did before. Collect key, we'll double click on that. And we'll switch this to is, and then we type in the word yes. So what programming have we created here? Let me explain this. So again, we're inside the wall actor, and we've said when you, the wall, come in contact with the agent, and the collect key attribute is set to yes, then you are then allowed to do this, which is destroy yourself. Which means if this is not true, meaning the collect key attribute is not set to yes, then this function here, this behavior, won't execute. So let's test that out now. So right now we know by default that that collect key attribute is set to no. So if we bump into the wall doesn't destroy itself. And that's because it's paying attention to that attribute. But if we were to collect the key, we're now switching that attribute over to yes, and we've told the wall that if you come in contact with the agent and that attribute is yes, go ahead and destroy yourself, which you can see the wall then does destroy. So that's how you create a very simple collectible item that then affects an unlockable item later in the level. And you can actually apply that over and over. It doesn't have to just be this very simple wall example that I've created here. But at the very least, you now know how to create a wall that our agent can't get through.